Okay, so welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special edition of the Coffee with Craig show. I'm here today with our special guest, Hubert from New Work Offices, which is a network of shared service offices in Central Eastern Europe. And Hubert, a pleasure to have you on the show in your location in our wonderful Europa Property studio headquarters.
Yeah, I'm impressed, I must say. I didn't know that we are basically multifunctional in our meeting rooms, but thank you very much, Craig, for having me. Looking forward, I guess, now since 2 months or 2.5 months.
Yeah,
already to be here. So
it seemed like you had a great time in South Africa.
It was very intensive. We had a boot camp to kick off our digital products, and in the time I used also, to energize myself. And as one of the results of it, we came up with update for our market report, which we issued first in April last year, when COVID was quite an unknown animal,
right?
Which still is, but we have already now a pretty good idea about economic impacts. So I guess that was a good result of this bootcamp. And the second one was then that we invented a franchise system, or call it package, where we think it's necessary, for every and each landlord to think about how to implement flex space in one or the other way in the buildings. So that was 2 already products, and we had press conferences. Was a good time, but now it's also good to be back in good old Europe.
It's great to have you back, and it's such a fantastic time in Warsaw as well, so welcome. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you see the office market and a little bit from the report.
Yeah, well, if we compare our sales funnel, which we are really having very, very close surveys, and according our numbers, we see 50% less demand overall.
Okay.
Compared to last year, Jan, Feb, March.
50%.
50% less leads. However, last year we were able to keep the revenues, even so we were forced to dismiss 4 centers, but we kept the revenues and we increased our occupancy by 23%. But I guess every day of operation costs us €5,000 because we can't come to an occupancy which is satisfying, our rents and operational costs. And we are pretty sure we are close to the shore.
Okay.
If you're talking to Jones Lang, they are predicting 30% as flex on the entire office market, which means from today's perspective, 3, 4, 5% maybe would mean for Poland only 2,500 new locations in the next 5 years.
Okay.
It's basically like Starbucks,
right?
In each corner, or Nero Cafe or something like that.
Right.
It's very hard to believe it as a real estate guy, because this is an accelerating number we are not used to in real estate. But however, it happens in retail. Why not in office as well?
Absolutely.
The Swiss operator of the train and railway stations, they implementing 76 workplaces in their train stations. German Bundesbahn picked up this trend. Accor Hotel has their own co-working flex brand already. Right. So we will see workspace everywhere, in each hotel, in each real estate, in a retail perspective. Comes in a completely new light now, because they fighting e-commerce and they need to bring in customers. They need to have this one-stop idea, and creating, beside the urban entertainment factor, I would say something which really attracts you to go in there and not only shop, but maybe also work and meet. And so a lot of trends are coming together, which of course it's no news, because it's driven by A, the shared economy, which is no news, and B, the digitalization. But COVID, or let's say the lockdowns, triggered the entire event and brought the 10 years which are in front of us down to maybe 2-3 years, something like that.
Now,
we can't compress time, but it feels like we compress something in this very short time that really, as we spoke earlier, it's so much to do to adjust the products to clients' needs, to be ready once the lockdown is lifted to deliver. And we are sure, and I guess 1 year ago everybody said, is Flex here to stay? Now we're talking about 10 times more market share.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's a completely different world in 12 months.
Well, even the shopping centers, I mean, everyone wanted them to build an office building next to the shopping centers. Now you really want some of these guys operating in the shopping centers, right? To actually, doing business there. And I also noticed you mentioned the railways. Well, in Warsaw, you could have never got a place in the central railway system for office because the retail was paying so much. And now, gosh, it's empty in retail.
Yeah.
Probably they don't want to drop the rents to what they could for office, but depends on how many more months or years that goes on. I can see where they could have little workplaces.
Of course, they're just converting Plus Uni first floor towards offices. It's 5,500 square meter, a huge space for that, because it never worked since its invention as retail.
Right.
But I mean, these are challenging moments, and of course, it's not that you're making real cash here, but for a shopping center manager, the first and foremost interest is to keep the clients as long as possible in the shopping mall.
Right.
So they spend more money.
And footfall,
Naturally.
if they're footfall, and if they're working, they must have some money, right? If they're going in there to work.
So that's one thing. On the other thing, we McKinsey just issued a report which is called Work Post-COVID. Has nothing to do with real estate, only with work. And they have a few interesting findings. The first is 75% of all office desks are good for work from home. So if you say we have 40 million people, and then maybe 25 million of the 40 million are going to work, then 25% of this 25 million are applying for work from home and hybrid models.
Right.
But when it comes to the offices, which is roughly 50% of the entire workforce, it's up to 75%.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot,
yeah.
right? And of course, these people will not stay 5 days a week at home, but they also will not stay 5 days a week in the office anymore.
Sure.
So it will be a mixture of 2 days there, 3 days there,
Right.
or Monday, Friday off. And I had an interesting discussion on Saturday with it's called expat community for investment relations. And I guess she was from Spain, and she said, but Spanish mentality doesn't allow the people to stay at home. The boss says you have to come to the
work.
office,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right, okay.
And they say, and what does the boss say to a talent, to the most wanted talent in the industry, if the talent replies, I work for you, but only if I can work remotely.
Right.
Right? And that drives, that means the client or the customer in this perspective, the talent,
Right.
the worker, the employee, adapts, of course, the advantages of a hybrid work model.
Sure.
And sooner or later, the company has to realize that to get the best talents, and the multi-beneficial card is not enough anymore to get the talent on board now.
No, that's over. Or
And
let's
then,
say, yeah.
and then what happens then? Then the tenant will tell the landlord, listen, man, we need to have a flex space model here. And that's the
Exactly.
thing.
Okay, we've just got 30 more seconds to go into
that's
this,
fast.
but tell us quickly why a landlord would franchise your system.
Because all the pain and suffering we learned the last 10 years is not worse if you have a single location, because you will not make money there. And secondly, you need to be a part of a multi-location platform.
Right.
One alone fighting, let's say, 30 locations from IWG, there is no way that you get the Google search up.
No sense.
So you need to be on a platform.
So are we at 9 minutes? Okay, so anyway, I would like to give you a cup for our Coffee with Craig show. So thank you very much. And everybody enjoy the rest of the day, and thank you for being part of this.
Coffee with Craig.